The massive starship hung in space like a silver needle catching starlight. Its smooth hull bore the markings of the Greater Galaxy Educational Fleet, and its name, Stellar Wisdom, glowed softly in both Standard Galactic Common and several other languages. Inside the ship's primary docking bay, 3 human children stood close together, trying not to show how nervous they felt as dozens of alien species moved around them. Jack clutched his backpack tightly, his brown eyes wide, as he watched a floating crystal being drift past. At 14, he was the oldest of the 3 humans and felt responsible for the others, even though they had just met. Next to him, Amy bounced on her toes, her excitement making it impossible for her to stand still. Tom, the quietest of the 3, kept looking down at his tablet to make sure they were in the right place. "Welcome, young Earth representatives." A tall, blue-skinned being floated toward them. Its voice came through their translation devices with a musical quality. "I am First Teacher Mira. We are so pleased to have you join our educational journey among the stars." The 3 children had been chosen from thousands of applicants when the Galactic Council finally agreed to allow humans into their prestigious space education program. It had taken years of debate, as Earth was classified as a death world, a planet so dangerous that its inhabitants were considered potentially hazardous to standard galactic citizens. "Thank you for having us," Jack said carefully, remembering his diplomatic training. The words came out in perfect Galactic Common thanks to the translator attached to his collar. First Teacher Mira's upper appendages wavered in what their cultural training had taught them was a sign of both welcome and slight anxiety. "Now we must review some safety protocols. Your natural human abilities, while fascinating, require certain precautions." Amy tried not to giggle as the teacher produced a holoscreen showing various warning symbols. She had grown up on a farm in Australia, and the idea that she needed safety warnings seemed silly. Still, she listened politely as Mira explained the rules. "Your enhanced muscle density means you must be careful when interacting with other students. Your skeletal structure's ability to heal from impacts could encourage unsafe behavior, and your capacity to continue functioning after injury might prevent you from seeking proper medical attention." Tom raised his hand, his quiet voice steady. "We understand, Teacher Mira. We've practiced in the Earth Preparation Center with the same gravity and atmospheric settings you use here." A small crowd of alien students had gathered at a safe distance, whispering among themselves as they observed the humans. Some looked scared, others curious. A crystalline student floated closer than the others, its faceted surface catching the light. "Hi," the crystal being chimed, its translation coming through with a sparkly sound. "On Lux, is it true that you can survive falling from heights that would shatter most beings?" Before any of the humans could answer, another student with multiple limbs and iridescent fur moved forward. "I heard they can eat things that would dissolve standard digestive systems. I'm Pip, by the way." First Teacher Mira's color shifted slightly. Now, let's not overwhelm our new students with questions about their Deathworld adaptations. They are here to learn, just like all of you." The humans were led through gleaming corridors to their quarters, passing viewports that showed the vast starfield outside. Their rooms were together in a specially reinforced section of the student housing deck. The gravity was set to Earth standard to help them sleep, though they would need to adjust to the lighter ship's gravity during classes. "Remember," Mira said before leaving them to settle in, "you are making history. The success of this program could open doors for future human students. We trust you will be careful with your unique capabilities." As the door closed behind the teacher, the 3 humans looked at each other. The reality of their situation was finally sinking in. They were the first human kids in space school, surrounded by beings who thought they were walking disaster zones. Tom sat on his bed, which adjusted to his weight with a soft hum. "Well, that was interesting. Did you see how they all stayed at least 2 meters away from us?" "Except Lux and Pip," Amy pointed out, unpacking her treasured collection of Earth rocks that she had been allowed to bring. "They seemed friendly." Jack looked out the viewport at the stars. This is our chance to show them that being from Earth doesn't make us dangerous. Well, not only dangerous anyway. He grinned, and the others smiled back. Their adventure was just beginning. The first week of classes on the Stellar Wisdom brought more surprises than any of the human children had expected. It started during their physical movement class, where students learned to adapt to different gravitational conditions. Amy was showing off by doing cartwheels in the reduced gravity when she accidentally bumped her elbow against a wall. Oh no, medical emergency. The instructor, a tall insectoid being, rushed toward her waving all 6 arms in panic. Someone call the medical bay. The human has damaged its outer shell. Amy looked at her elbow, which had barely a scratch. It's fine, really, just a little scrape. The entire class watched in horror as she pulled a small bandage from her pocket and stuck it on. Several students fainted when they saw the tiny drop of red blood before she covered it. Lux, the crystal being, vibrated in fascination. You're leaking your internal transport fluid, but you can still function. Lux chimed, floating closer while others backed away. And your protection layer will really grow back on its own. Jack tried to help explain. That's how humans work. We heal quickly. It's not a big deal. The next incident happened during lunch period. Tom had brought his favorite hot sauce from Earth, carefully approved by the ship's xenobiologists. He sprinkled a few drops on his food cube, unaware that the entire cafeteria had gone silent to watch. He's consuming molecular destabilizer. Pip, their many-limbed friend, announced with a mix of horror and awe. And he's smiling. Word spread quickly through the ship about the human's strange abilities. During biology class, their teacher used them as living examples of extreme evolutionary adaptation. The human children had to explain that drinking water every few hours and sleeping daily wasn't a sign of weakness, but rather how their species maintained their incredible endurance. Things got even more interesting during environmental systems training. The class was learning about different atmospheric compositions when the teacher created a small rain simulation to demonstrate weather patterns. While other students huddled under their protective fields, the 3 humans walked right into the water spray. They exposed themselves to falling dihydrogen monoxide. One student screamed. For fun, added another, watching in disbelief as Amy twirled in the artificial rain. Later that day, during recreation time, the humans discovered that what they considered a simple climbing wall in the exercise area was labeled as extreme risk activity, Deathworlder usage only. Jack couldn't help showing off a little, scaling it easily while alien students recorded the feat on their devices. Lux and Pip had gradually become their closest friends, less afraid of their human traits than curious about them. During their shared study period, Lux asked about Earth while helping them with multi-dimensional mathematics. Is it true that your planet has huge masses of dihydrogen monoxide that move by themselves? Lux sparkled with interest. You mean oceans? Yeah, and some of us swim in them for fun. Tom explained, then quickly added, Don't worry, we won't try swimming on the ship. Pip, who was teaching them about energy fuel art, had another question. And you really have areas where the ground shakes randomly, and spinning air columns that destroy structures, and frozen water falls from the sky. Earthquakes, tornadoes, and snow, yes. Amy nodded. Earth has lots of different weather and natural events. We learn to deal with them. By the end of the week, the ship's medical staff had stopped rushing to their location every time one of them stumbled or bumped into something. The other students still kept a safe distance, but their fear was slowly mixing with admiration. Even the teachers were beginning to see that human adaptability might not be such a bad thing. During their evening meal, as the 3 humans sat with Lux and Pip in the now slightly less panicked cafeteria, Jack noticed something had changed. The other students weren't just staring at them in horror anymore. There was respect in their eyes too. Maybe being Deathworlders isn't so bad, he said, deliberately taking a bite of his spicy food while nearby students watched in amazement. We're like living proof that scary things aren't always dangerous. Amy grinned, showing her teeth before remembering that made some species nervous. Just mostly dangerous, she joked, causing Lux to chime with laughter and Pip to wave all their limbs in amusement. The humans were starting to find their place on the stellar wisdom, even if that place came with warning labels and safety protocols. What seemed normal to them might be terrifying to others, but that was okay. They were bridging worlds, one shocking revelation at a time. The stellar wisdom slowed its engines as it approached the massive gas giant. The swirling purple and green clouds of the planet filled the observatory windows, making the perfect backdrop for today's astronomy lesson. Students from 17 different species gathered to study the giant storm patterns, their excited chatter filling the large dome-shaped room. The gravity rings of this gas giant are particularly interesting, the astronomy teacher explained, her tentacles gesturing at the holographic display. We'll be staying in orbit for 3 days to study them. Tom was taking notes on his tablet when he first felt something odd. The artificial gravity, which usually kept everything stable, seemed to flutter. He looked up and caught Jack's eye. He had felt it too. Amy, who was sitting near the front with Lux, turned around with a concerned expression. The teacher's next words were cut off by a loud alarm. The ship's AI voice echoed through the room. Warning. Gravity system malfunction detected. Emergency protocols initiated. Suddenly, everything went wrong. The artificial gravity didn't just fail. It began to fluctuate wildly. One moment everyone was being pulled toward the ceiling, the next toward the walls. The alien students, whose bodies weren't designed for such stress, immediately activated their personal safety bubbles, standard emergency equipment that would protect them from gravity changes. But 3 students, young ones from a gaseous species who had been floating near the ceiling, didn't reach their safety bubbles in time. As the gravity shifted again, they were thrown toward the observatory's lower windows. Without hesitation, the 3 humans sprang into action. Their Earth-evolved bodies, used to dealing with gravity nearly twice as strong as the ship's normal setting, could handle the changes better than their alien classmates. Jack braced himself against a support beam and reached out, managing to grab one of the young aliens as they flew past. The small gaseous being felt like catching a warm cloud, but he held on carefully, pulling them to safety. Amy used the changing gravity to her advantage. When it pulled toward the ceiling, she pushed off hard, calculating her trajectory like she did during gymnastics. She caught another of the young aliens, using her body to cushion them both as they hit the wall. Tom, usually the quiet one, surprised everyone. He jumped from handhold to handhold on the wall, fighting against the shifting forces. When gravity suddenly yanked toward the front of the room, he lunged forward and snatched the 3rd young alien just before they would have hit the window. The whole rescue took less than 30 seconds. By then, the ship's backup systems had activated, stabilizing the gravity at half its normal strength. The 3 humans stood there, each holding a scared but safe young alien, while the rest of the class stared in amazement from inside their safety bubbles. Is everyone okay? First Teacher Mira rushed into the observatory, then stopped short at the scene. The young aliens floated out of the humans' gentle grip, their gas forms shivering with leftover fear, but otherwise unharmed. They swirled around their rescuers in what was clearly a thank you dance. The Deathworlders saved them, Pip announced from their safety bubble, all their limbs pointing in excitement. They moved through the changing gravity like it was nothing. Lux chimed in, their crystal form glowing brightly. They used their high-gravity adaptations to help others instead of just protecting themselves. The teacher who had been giving the astronomy lesson floated forward, her tentacles waving in what the humans now recognized as deep respect. We owe you our gratitude. Those young ones could have been seriously injured. We just did what anyone would do, Jack said, though he was swaying slightly from the effort of fighting the gravity changes. No, First Teacher Mira said softly. Not anyone could have done that. Only beings adapted to survive on a death world would have both the physical capability and the quick thinking needed for such a rescue. The 3 humans looked at each other, tired but proud. For the first time since arriving on the Stellar Wisdom, they felt truly useful. Their scary Deathworld adaptations had just saved lives. Perhaps, Mira continued, her voice carrying through the now quiet observatory. We have been too quick to see danger and difference. As the emergency response team arrived to check everyone over, the humans noticed something had changed. The other students weren't just looking at them with fascination or fear anymore. There was genuine gratitude in their eyes. Even the ones who usually kept their distance were emerging from their safety bubbles to hover closer, offering thanks in their various ways. The incident would later become known as the Gravity Day Rescue, the first time the ship's crew and students saw that being the Deathworlder could be a gift rather than a curse. After the Gravity Day Rescue, life on the Stellar Wisdom changed in unexpected ways. The human children found themselves becoming teachers as much as students. It started during their free time in the ship's biodome, where various planetary environments were simulated for study. You really want to learn how to climb a tree? Annie asked, looking up at the earth oak that had been grown for their Earth biology section. A small crowd of alien students had gathered around them, including Lux and Pip. If Deathworld abilities helped during the gravity crisis, perhaps we should learn some of them, Pip said, their multiple limbs twitching with excitement. Of course, with proper safety measures. The ship's safety office had initially objected, but after the rescue incident, they agreed to allow supervised Deathworld activity training. Soon, Annie was teaching a small group how to find safe handholds and test branches before putting weight on them. The alien students were amazed by how humans could instinctively judge what would hold their weight. Meanwhile, Tom had started a different kind of class. He brought out his collection of Earth weather recordings, showing his new friends what rain looked like on Earth. The alien students were fascinated by how humans not only survived in precipitation, but actually enjoyed it. You mean you intentionally go outside during waterfalls? Asked a gaseous student who had been one of those rescued during the gravity incident. We even dance in it sometimes, Tom explained, playing a video of children splashing in puddles. Rain helps things grow on Earth. It's part of life. The exchange of knowledge went both ways. Lux began teaching the humans about crystal mathematics, a way of solving complex equations by thinking in light patterns. The humans struggled at first, their brains not naturally wired for photonic thinking, but they slowly began to grasp it. It's like looking at a rainbow and seeing numbers, Jack said after finally solving his first crystal equation. Lux glowed with pride at their students' progress. Pip introduced them to multi-line art, where paintings were created using all appendages at once to show different dimensions of reality. The humans couldn't match the multiple limb movements, but they discovered they could achieve similar effects by using both hands and feet together, creating their own unique style. During mealtimes, the cafeteria became a place of cultural exchange. The humans introduced their alien friends to the concept of spicy food, carefully supervised by the ship's medical team. In return, they learned to appreciate crystalline nutrient songs and gaseous flavor clouds. Careful with the hot sauce, Jack warned as Pip tried a tiny drop of the mild version approved by the ship's scientists. It's not as strong as Earth peppers, but Pip's fur suddenly changed colors in rapid succession, and they made a sound that the translators couldn't process, but they were bouncing with excitement. It's like tasting energy. Is this why humans seek out challenging sensations? The learning went beyond just activities and food. During their regular classes, the teachers noticed how the different species' abilities complemented each other. In physics class, while the crystal students could visualize quantum states naturally, the humans' ability to think in practical, survival-oriented ways helped solve complex engineering problems. It's because we come from a planet that's always trying to kill us, Amy explained during one class discussion. We had to learn to use whatever works. One evening, as they sat in the observation dome watching the stars, Lux asked the humans to explain more about Earth's seasons. As Tom described how humans celebrated different weather patterns, their alien friends were quiet for a long time. Your world sounds terrifying, one student finally said. But the way you talk about it, it sounds beautiful too. Dangerous but beautiful. Jack nodded. That's exactly it. Maybe that's why we're able to see beauty in things others find scary. When you grow up on a death world, you learn that dangerous things can also be wonderful. First Teacher Mira, who had been listening nearby, floated closer. Perhaps that is the most valuable lesson you're teaching us. Not just how to survive challenge, but how to embrace it. How to find joy in adapting. The humans smiled, realizing that they were no longer just the strange Deathworlders on board. They had become bridges between two very different ways of seeing the universe. Every day, they were proving that what made them different, their strength, their adaptability, their comfort with danger, could bring people together rather than push them apart. As the stars twinkled outside, human and alien students sat together, sharing stories and learning from each other. The distance between Deathworld and standard galaxy citizens was growing smaller, one lesson at a time. The trouble started during what should have been a routine jump through hyperspace. The stellar wisdom was passing through a rarely used corridor when the ship's sensors detected something strange, a previously unknown type of space anomaly, directly in their path. By the time the alert sounded, it was too late to change course. The ship shuddered as it hit the anomaly. Emergency lights flashed on as multiple systems began to fail. The temperature control was the first to go, followed by several shield generators. The humans, who had been in their quarters doing homework with Lux and Pip, felt the air growing colder. Emergency. Multiple system failures detected, the ship's AI announced. All students report to designated safety zones immediately. The corridors filled with scared students rushing to their evacuation points. But something was wrong. Several emergency bulkheads had failed to close properly, leaving sections of the ship exposed to rapidly dropping temperatures. The safety zones weren't safe anymore. The primary life support hub is losing power. First Teacher Mira's voice came through the emergency channels. We need to redirect energy from the backup systems, but the maintenance tunnels are too cold for most species to survive in. Jack looked at Amy and Tom. They had all studied the ship's layout as part of their safety training. The maintenance tunnels ran through areas that would now be near freezing. We can handle the cold, Jack said into his communicator. Humans are built to survive temperature extremes. There was a pause before Mira responded. Are you certain? Our readings show the tunnels are reaching temperatures that would harm most carbon-based life forms. Amy stepped forward. We grew up with winters and summers. We can handle cold better than most species here. Let us help. After a quick discussion with the ship's emergency council, they were given permission. The three humans hugged their alien friends goodbye. Lux was vibrating with worry, and Pip's fur had turned pale with concern. We'll fix this, Tom promised. It's just a bit of cold, like a snow day back home. The maintenance tunnels were worse than they expected. Frost covered the walls, and their breath came out in white clouds. But their bodies, evolved to handle Earth's harsh weather, could take it. They followed the emergency lighting to the main junction where they needed to reroute the power. Okay, remember the engineering classes, Jack said, his fingers nimble despite the cold as he worked with the control panel. We just need to redirect power from the auxiliary systems to the life support hub. Tom and Amy worked on other panels, following the instructions being fed to their tablets by the ship's engineering team. The cold was uncomfortable, but not unbearable. Their Deathworld biology was keeping them functioning where other species would have shut down. Look at these readings, one of the engineers said through their communicators. Their core temperature is staying stable even in those conditions. Remarkable Deathworld adaptation. As they worked, they could hear updates from around the ship. Some students were starting to suffer from the failing life support. The humans worked faster, ignoring their own discomfort. This wasn't just about proving themselves anymore. Their friends needed them. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably only 40 minutes, they managed to reroute the power. The life support systems hummed back to life, and warm air began flowing through the ship again. The three humans made their way back to the main decks, tired but proud. They were met by an emergency medical team who quickly checked them over, amazed to find they were basically fine despite their exposure to the extreme cold. First Teacher Mira and several other staff members were waiting too, along with Lux, Pip, and many other students. "You saved the ship," Mira said simply. "Your ability to function in conditions that would incapacitate others. It made all the difference." "That's what humans do," Amy said, accepting a warm drink from the medical team. "We adapt and help others. It's how we survived on Earth." The ship's council made an official announcement later that day. The humans' actions had prevented what could have been a major disaster. More importantly, they had once again shown that being a Deathworlder didn't just mean being dangerous. It meant being able to help when others couldn't. As they sat in the now warm common area, surrounded by grateful classmates, Jack smiled. "Maybe this is why Earth made us so tough," he said. "Not just to survive, but to help others survive too." Their alien friends couldn't quite understand how the humans had endured such cold, but they understood something else. Having Deathworlders aboard wasn't just safe, it was becoming essential. 2 days after the temperature crisis, the three human children found themselves in an unexpected place, the ship's main council chamber. The circular room was filled with teachers, administrators, and safety officers from various species. First Teacher Mira floated at the center, leading the discussion. "Recent events have made it clear that our emergency protocols need updating," Mira announced. "And who better to advise us than those who have proven themselves in actual emergencies? Our human students, please share your thoughts." Jack stood up first, trying not to fidget as all eyes turned to him. "On Earth, we have something called fire drills. We don't wait for real emergencies to practice evacuations. We could do simulation drills for different types of problems." To his surprise, instead of dismissing the idea as too dangerous, the council members were taking notes. Encouraged, Amy spoke up next. "We should have emergency supplies stored in more places," she suggested. "On Earth, we keep survival kits in our homes, schools, and even cars. What if every classroom had basic emergency gear?" Tom added his own idea, his voice quiet but confident. "We could also teach everyone basic survival skills from different worlds. Humans know about handling temperature changes, crystal beings like Lux understand radiation, and gas-form species know about atmospheric problems. We could learn from each other." The council chamber buzzed with discussion. Pip, who had been invited as a student representative, waved their limbs excitedly. "The humans taught us tree climbing and weather adaptation. Those skills helped some students stay calmer during the crisis." Lux chimed in, their crystal form glowing brightly. "Their Deathworld perspective makes them think differently about safety. They don't just rely on technology. They prepare for when technology fails." The ship's head engineer, a tall mechanical being, stepped forward. "We've analyzed the humans' actions during both the gravity failure and the temperature crisis. Their instinctive responses were faster than our automated systems. Perhaps we've become too dependent on automation." The council spent hours discussing the humans' suggestions. By the end of the meeting, they had approved a complete overhaul of the ship's safety protocols. The new system would combine advanced alien technology with practical survival techniques from various worlds, including Earth. Over the next few weeks, changes began appearing throughout the stellar wisdom. Emergency supply cages were installed in every section. Regular drills were scheduled to practice different scenarios. Most surprisingly, a new class was added to the curriculum: multi-species survival skills. The human children found themselves helping to teach the new class alongside instructors from other species. They demonstrated Earth survival techniques, while learning about surviving in gas storms from the gaseous species and handling radiation surges from the crystal beings. "Remember," Jack told his classmates during a lesson, "the goal isn't to make everyone as tough as a human. It's to understand our different strengths and help each other." The lesson hit home during their first ship-wide emergency drill. When the simulated crisis began, students didn't panic. Instead, they worked together, using their different abilities to help each other. Crystal students used their natural glow to light darkened corridors. Gaseous species helped filter bad air. And the humans helped organize and lead groups to safety. Look at them. First teacher Mira said proudly to another teacher as they watched the students work together. They're not afraid of the humans anymore. They're learning from them. Even the ship's design began to change. Engineers added manual overrides to automatic systems, inspired by the human story about mechanical door handles on Earth. They created new emergency tools that could be used without power, based on simple Earth technologies. One evening, as the three humans sat in their favorite spot in the observation dome with their alien friends, they could hardly believe how much had changed. Students from all species now came to them for advice, not just about survival skills, but about facing challenges with courage. "You've changed how we think about adaptation," Pip said, their fur glowing softly in the starlight. "We used to think being highly evolved meant being more delicate and depending on technology. You showed us that true advancement means being ready for anything." Lux sparkled in agreement. "And you taught us that what makes a species strong isn't just their technology or natural abilities. It's their willingness to learn and help others." Amy looked out at the stars, thinking about Earth. Maybe that's why we evolved the way we did on our death world. Not just to survive there, but to be ready to help others out here. The ship's council had one more surprise for them. They announced that the Stellar Wisdom would become the first ship in the fleet to specialize in teaching Deathworld survival techniques. More human students would be invited to join, and they would even visit other Deathworld species to learn their survival techniques. The three humans had done more than just survive on the alien ship. They had helped create something new, a place where being different wasn't a problem to solve, but a strength to share. The end of the first semester aboard the Stellar Wisdom approached faster than anyone expected. The ship's corridors buzzed with excitement as students prepared for the upcoming graduation ceremony. But the biggest news wasn't about the ceremony. It was about the hundreds of new applications the ship had received from other Deathworld species. "Look at this," first teacher Mira said during the morning announcement, her form glowing with excitement. "We have applicants from the high-gravity world of Pressura, the lightning storms of Voltox, and even the acid rains of Corroso. All because three brave humans showed us that Deathworld adaptations are valuable." Jack, Amy, and Tom sat with their friends in the now-familiar observation dome, looking through pictures from their first day on the ship. The images showed three scared human kids standing apart from the others. How different things were now. "Remember when everyone thought we would accidentally break the ship?" Amy laughed, showing a picture of their first safety briefing. Pip, whose fur now stayed calm around the humans, waved their limbs in amusement. "And now we have a whole class dedicated to learning human survival techniques. My younger siblings can't wait to join next semester." Lux chimed in, their crystal form reflecting the starlight. "The new emergency protocols you helped design are being adopted by other ships in the fleet. They're calling it the Deathworld Integration Program." The changes went beyond just the Stellar Wisdom. News had spread through the galaxy about the success of having humans aboard. Other educational ships were rushing to modify their facilities to accommodate Deathworld students. Some were even planning expeditions to Earth to learn more about survival in extreme conditions. During their final week, the three humans helped the ship's engineers install the last of the new emergency systems. These included simple but effective tools inspired by Earth technology: manual water pumps, mechanical backup systems, and emergency supplies that didn't need power to work. "It's funny," Tom said as he showed a group of engineers how to use a hand-powered generator. "On Earth, we thought we were behind other species because we still needed these simple tools. But sometimes simple is better." The graduation ceremony was unlike any in the ship's history. Instead of the usual formal proceedings, the students organized a demonstration of their new emergency response skills. Different species worked together, showing how their unique abilities complemented each other. The human strength and endurance, combined with crystal beings, light manipulation, and gaseous species atmospheric control, created an impressive display of cooperative survival techniques. First teacher Mira addressed the gathered crowd, which included representatives from the Galactic Education Council. When these human children first arrived, many thought it was a dangerous experiment. Now, we understand it was the beginning of a new era. They taught us that true strength lies not in avoiding challenges, but in facing them together. The biggest surprise came during the final announcement. The Galactic Education Council had decided to create a new type of educational program. The Stellar Wisdom would become the flagship for a fleet of ships specialized in teaching multispecies survival skills. Students from all worlds, including Deathworlds, would learn to use their natural adaptations to help others. And we want you three to help design the program, Mira told the human children. Your perspective as the first Deathworld students has proven invaluable. As the ceremony ended, the three humans stood with their alien friends, watching stars streak past the observation windows. They had arrived scared and uncertain, seen as dangerous creatures from a deadly world. Now they were leaving as teachers, pioneers, and bridges between worlds. I got a message from Earth yesterday, Jack said, smiling. Hundreds of human kids have applied for next semester. They all want to show the galaxy what Deathworlds can teach. Lux sparkled brightly, and many of us want to visit Earth now. Your stories about rain, snow, and climbing mountains, they're not just scary anymore. They're exciting. That's the real legacy you're leaving, Pip added, their fur shimmering with emotion. You didn't just survive here. You helped us all see the universe differently. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow stronger together. As the Stellar Wisdom prepared for its next journey, the three humans knew they had done more than just complete a semester in space. They had changed how the galaxy saw Deathworlders, turned fear into respect, and proved that being different wasn't a weakness. It was a gift to be shared. The ship's AI made one final announcement that evening. Attention all students. The next semester's enrollment is now complete. We welcome 40 new Deathworld students from 12 different planets, joining our returning students from all corners of the galaxy. Together, we will continue to learn, adapt, and grow stronger. The human children smiled at each other. This was just the beginning.